Hi there, and welcome to the Callosum interview series, Beyond Revenue, Bringing Purpose to Brand. This is where conversations grounded in purpose give insights to the outdoor industry. Thanks for joining us today. So good morning. Today I have Will Robinson with us, also known as Akuna. His thru-hike. Oh, let's start that over. We can also do that, which is great. This is great.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning. This morning I have Will Robinson with me, also known as Akuna, which is his thru-hiker trail name. Before we dive in with Will, I'd love to frame our conversation today. So Callosum is a purpose-driven ad agency, and we focus on impact. And purpose-driven companies, they choose to go beyond the role of offering just a product or a service to develop programs that have a social or environmental impact. Social entrepreneurship is bringing more meaning to what businesses do. And it's an exciting way to explore if one wants to make a difference in their career or in their company. We believe that the quadruple bottom line, we believe in the quadruple bottom line, which is expressed as profit, people, planet, and purpose. So, hello, Will. How are you today?
Hello, Claire. How you doing?
I
am great here.
You're tolerating Texas heat. We get it. So
Yes, I am.
it's
Yes, I
August.
am.
It's August. I understand. Yes, great. You're great. So Will is a long distance through hiker and a 2022 George Mallory Award recipient. His journey into the outdoors started with an attempt to through hike the Pacific Crest Trail in 2016. Akuna thought of his journey as a way to help with PTSD from military service and fell hard for hiking, nature, and the community that surrounds the trails. He has since completed the PCT in 2017, the Appalachian in 2018, and in 2019, the Continental Divide Trail, becoming the first Black man to complete the Triple Crown of hiking. That is a very large accomplishment and a very small club to be a member of. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. It's been an awesome ride. That's continuing. So
right, exactly,
good
exactly. So
times.
that was 2019. I can't wait to hear what has transpired since now in 2023. So Will, to get started, can you tell me how you define purpose in your own words?
And purpose is that thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, those rough days when you just want to lay on your pillow and hit the snooze button 5 times. It's that drive that makes you get up to start the day and ready to approach the world and take on anything that comes with it. It's that thing that it starts off as something you have to do and it becomes something you need to do. It's like you just need that in your life, like you need oxygen. And that's purpose to me.
Great. And what would you define as your personal, what is your purpose?
I think my purpose is to, inspire, to give hope, and to completely demolish any outdoor stereotypes there are out there, Then that's what we've been doing the last 6 years. We've been breaking down the barriers and, establishing that the outdoors should be inclusive for all. And during that time, we're giving hope and we're inspiring, people of color, body positive people, LGBTQIA, and anyone else who may need it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are the stereotypes that you are seeing and how, I know that you are a role model in the space on and off the trail. So what is it that you initially found on the trail that then has inspired this and made this become your passion, your purpose, your desire?
When I first started hiking in 2016 on the PCT, I hiked 1,600 miles without ever having another person of color anywhere around my circle. And during this time, I was posting my journey on Instagram. And then when I went back in 2017, I continued to share my journey on Instagram. And I would get comments from people of color and veterans, that were interested in doing these things, but they had never seen themselves out on these trails. So they didn't know this was a space that they were allowed to be them in.
Mm-hmm.
So once I started getting those messages, reluctantly, I started sharing more of my journeys on social media because I figured, just like me, I didn't see representation of myself on these trails. So I took the plunge. I had no clue what I was going to expect, but it would have been easier for me to have seen other people like me on trails. So I decided to be that person for other people.
Mm-hmm. And what have you seen evolve in from when you began until currently?
There's been a good increase in people from marginalized communities. I'm seeing more Black Americans on trails. I'm seeing more women on trail. I'm seeing more LGBTQIA and other people of color. It's just been a nice gradual increase.
Mm-hmm. And I recall reading that you very much feel that you need to be a role model, so that you are always minding your P's and Q's because why?
It's because the way I was raised, you always leave the situation better than you found it. And when I meet people on trail, a lot of times I'm the first interaction they've ever had with a Black man in the outdoors. So a lot of times you're going to use that one experience you have as the basis for every other interaction. So if that starts off a negative way, then the next person you meet that looks a lot like me, it's going to be negative for you for the start. So I tried to be, that good vibe and that positive first interaction. So it sets the tone for everyone else that comes behind me.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. I remember hearing a story from someone about they had passed a single individual on a hike and stopped to make sure, one, were they okay? Two, how were they familiar with the trail, and invited them along. And so it's very much that first impression is like, well, do you want to be here by yourself? Would you like to hike with me for a little bit? And I hear a lot of those stories regarding through hiking of it's so exciting to see someone familiar, but also to join along with others and thus create a relationship. I'm always thinking about, rather than transactions, relationships and transformations. And it sounds like you have quite a web of friends across the country that are through hikers.
I have family everywhere across the
Yeah.
country and other countries. After you spend so much time with people and getting to know them, and all for the common goal of, just enjoying nature and getting to the other side, you become family quick. It's a bond is very similar to being in the military. In a short amount of time, these people become, a big part of your life.
Mm-hmm. And I'll share a little bit is that I know that you came on trail because you were looking for some serenity yourself from PTSD from your years in the military, in the army. And what other reasons have you found that people come or want to be in nature on the trail?
It runs the gambit. You have people that I've met that are looking for that ultimate adventure. I've met people on trail that are looking to build their confidence. I meet people who just need a change in their life. Sometimes just a change of scenery or a change of routine is what it takes to jumpstart you into your future endeavors. So, I mean, you name it, I meet people that are out there for it. But that's the last year or two, I think the majority of people I'm meeting out there, they're coming out there because they're trying to better themselves. They have something going on where their mental health or they have that lack of confidence they're trying to build. So they come out, they find a trail, they enjoy nature, and they take something back with them that makes them a better person.
Mhm. Their own personal transformation, which then they bring back to their community.
Yes, and it's an honor to be a small part of it, along the way. And it's just a beautiful thing to see it in progress.
Mm-hmm. So, Will, how do you consider yourself in terms of off the trail? So, do you consider yourself an influencer? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a business owner? Tell me about life off the trail.
It's a topic of debate all the time. I consider myself a professional athlete. A lot of people don't see hikers as athletes, but most trails, I literally hike a marathon every day. Within 6 to 7 hours, it's a marathon. Then you get up and you don't get to take, a month off and then run the next marathon. No, you do it again the next day, and
Right.
the day after that, and the day after that. So I consider myself a professional athlete that wears multiple hats. I have the ability to be the influencer, an advocate, an activist, and a mental health advocate, and everything else in between.
And so I've seen that, and I've seen some of your, or you in the press around your volunteerism and working in the community with youth. How much would you say of your year, how much time is on trail versus off? And in your off time, how do you spread your message?
Most of my time is on trail. Most of the hikes that I do take anywhere from 4 to 6 months. So you spend a lot of time on trail, a lot of time preparing to be on trail. And whenever I do have the spare time, especially when I was living back home in Louisiana, love working with the organizations that are getting the youth out. So I spend a lot more time on trail and would love to increase the amount of time that I spend, just talking to youth and just spreading the message.
Mm-hmm. And when remind me of the organization? I think it was in Louisiana when you were home during COVID and you did some work with children. Tell me about that.
Yeah. There's an organization in New Orleans called Loop NOLA. And what they do is they get the kids that grew up in the Metro New Orleans city that probably haven't seen more than, a football field of grass out into nature. They take them hiking, they go backpacking trips, fishing, a lot of different things. And it's something that, these kids need. They don't have these experiences in their normal life. And when I go up there and hang out with the kids, you just see them light up. You see them come out of their shells. You see them make this personal connection with nature. And that's what it takes is, people having this personal connection with nature for them to care enough about preserving it. So you get to see the light bulb come up over their head and how they now care about it. And so this is going to be our future protectors.
Right. Yes, and that makes me think of you need to have a relationship with nature to care. That's a big statement and important. And how do you when they come out onto the trail, it also makes me think about sustainability or our climate. So it's hard to pinpoint what messages we want to convey with preciseness so that it's memorable, or if that is your intention or not. Sort of, that doesn't have to be, but I know you as DEI and as mental health, and it's been an interesting evolution of DEI to really that piece of belonging, which I hear you speak a bunch about around that. I know from the military you're part of a whole, and now you have this family on the trail, but you also speak about it as a place of belonging. And what is it in the grand scale of a trail that may take, I know you're about to go back to the Appalachian Trail and you'll be out for 4 months. What is it that creates a place of belonging in nature?
It's the distractions from normal societal, or societal norms. It's people just connecting with people. There is no constant notifications or Instagram messages or status updates. There's not the over convoluted junk of Netflix taking your attention, or the job or the friends. It's just you and whoever you meet out there. So you're able to go to deeper levels. You get to know people. You get to learn more about them, which ultimately leads to more acceptance. But it's just getting away from all the distractions of normal life.
I've heard similar comparisons to everyone is just a human when you're on a bicycle. So everyone is just a human when you're on a trail. I've also heard you compare this unplugging of being on trail to similarly to being in the military, that you are removed from society and that it, a different environment. Yet I know that your transition from the military onto the trail came with some struggles. And so on the trail, is it up to the individual to work through their problems, or does it become a family unit? Or both?
It's up to the individual to decide what they need. If they need the space to work on themselves within the community that you create, you can have that space. But when you want to have other individuals or family members, input, opinions, or help, that's always there for you. So it's whatever you need.
You say like it's taking the time to take care of you. And yet that also makes me think of the privilege of what does it take to be on trail financially, time. It is certainly a different lifestyle. I don't know if it's more affordable or less affordable than living in society. It certainly takes a toll on the body and takes some gear and a lot of logistics from what I know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely a privilege to be able to go on some of the longer hikes that I've gone on. Traditionally we say for a through hike, budget for about $1,000 for every month you're out there. Which, if you're living in normal society with a mortgage or an apartment or anything like that, you're probably spending more than $1,000 a month just to get from
Yes,
month to
yeah.
month. But for a lot of us, we're living paycheck to paycheck. To be able to stack that type of money to go hiking is a very hard thing to do. So every person is able to do this. It's a lot of privilege
It's
that we have by being able to do it.
and I was going to ask, oh, you had mentioned, I cut myself off, but the concept of moral injury. So explain that to me.
The concept of
Of
moral
of
injury.
moral injury regarding the military. So that was that discussion of stepping away from society and being, disconnected from this all the inquiries and news and
Mhm.
notifications and social media and all that, and the challenge that it is to introduce yourself back into society. And you had explained that there was a parallel to hiking, and when you come off trail, the reintroduction to it. Now I imagine you can also choose how plugged in you are or not
Mhm.
during that time, but where do you see this moral injury concept show up on trail?
You know, on trail really is about how much you want to engage, with the community, with the people, because you can take what you want to leave what you take what you want to leave like a buffet. And for me, going from the military straight into hiking and dealing with the PTSD and the mental health things that I was dealing with, it took a long time for me to come out of my shell and to want to give more to the community and to the people I was around. But I was allowed to take all the time that I needed to take. So I integrated when I wanted to integrate. I was sharing when I was wanting to share. And, that's something that the community that I had around me encouraged, is basically for me to do things in my own time and my own terms.
Mm-hmm. It sounds refreshing because we have such a society of speed and the need immediate gratification. And yet,
Definitely,
there could be
you
such
know,
blessings in delayed gratification and the lesson.
I I've been very lucky in my outdoor career. The communities that I've chosen to be my family, the majority of the people I've run across have been so supportive, so great, and so vital to my personal growth. But the outdoors does reflect though our society. So there are people out there that don't like me taking space, that have a problem with me for the fact that I advocate for myself as a Black man, or as a veteran, or someone with PTSD. And I can be able to limit my interactions with them a lot better than I can in our average normal day society. But I think it's important to let people know that, because this is America and our society bleeds into nature, all of the things that you may want to go to nature to run away from, the type of people, they do exist in the outdoor community. It's just easier to limit the amount of time you have to interact with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes me Google. I used to work in the apparel industry, and it can be a very catty industry. But I
Oh
also,
yeah.
you just don't choose not to engage with the folks that don't align in terms of your intention, your passion, your purpose, your values.
Mhm.
We do have the ability to make a difference if we choose to put positivity into the world, instead of, I believe the data is that you get five negative to one positive of inputs, things that are always being absorbed in us. I'm a student of flow state and neuroscience. And so being
Mhm.
very conscious about what I allow into my brain, it's like food, because
Oh yeah.
it affects us, right? And so
Oh yeah.
how does that develop, I guess?
So totally understand that. My whole thing is good vibes, because I believe energy is contagious. You put out good energy into the world, it infects people and they spread more good energy. So I'm all about putting out that good energy. So I totally vibe with what you were just saying.
Yes. And your good energy is that's where your name Akuna came from. Am I correct?
That's where it started at, was people would ask me all the time, it's a dry year, what are you going to do about water? It's like, oh, we'll figure it out. Well, what about the snow in the Sierras? Like, we have 702 miles to figure it out. So everything was just, we'll deal with it later. It's like, you don't worry about much, do you? It's like, that's what I do in my normal day to day. Here, I'm trying to be, a better person. I'm here to rebuild myself. And it starts with changing a lot of my other old habits, my normal habits. So it started off as, oh, we're going to call you No Worries because you don't worry about anything. And that changed to Akuna Matata and then was shortened to Akuna.
Gotcha. Yes, yes. Of the Lion King.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So I recall reading that when you finished the Triple Crown, that you had a moment where you thought, "Is this a dream? Did this actually occur or not?" And that
Yeah.
when I read that, it was just like, "Oh my goodness, that's heartbreaking." To think of that
Yeah.
experience. And so over the years of the evolution of your hiking, how have things evolved, and is this always a challenge, or are you now owning that this is really happening?
I'm owning now more that it's really happened. I with the way PTSD affects me, sometimes my vision of reality can be altered. Sometimes it does feel like, did that really happen, or am I just, dreaming? So that is something I deal with all the time. But when it comes to completing the Triple Crown, I'm owning that one.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I can
owning it
imagine
and
you.
proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, yes. And that was 3,100 mile trail was the final one. How many miles
Yeah.
is total Triple Crown together?
For the Triple Crown altogether is about 8,000 miles.
I imagine your body knows you did it.
Oh yeah, my body knows it did. That's done the Triple Crown and a lot more. I'm at around 12,000 miles now.
Yeah, so I was looking at 12,000 miles, right? I was looking at your PCT 2016, 2017, AT 2018, CDT 2019, TRT 2021, AZT 2021. And you are also sponsored by Merrill. Tell me about that.
In 2018, when I was on the Appalachian Trail, I got an Instagram message from a person I never heard of before. And they're like, could you use a pair of shoes? I work at Merrill. And, as a thru hiker that was trying to hike based off of my VA disability, which wasn't a lot. Anytime I can save money, that was the thing to do. So I never wore a pair of Merrill Trail Runners, but they sent me a pair. And a month or two later, I got a message asking me how I liked them. Loved the shoes. And, the person on the other line was like, great, because we want you to represent our brand. We want to bring you on onto our ambassador team because, it's more than just the hiking you're doing. We just love your spirit and the message that you're trying to get across. And, that was the sole reason I signed with Miro. It was more about the people, the message versus, the sales and the product. So, those are the type of people I like to rock with, the people that can understand that there's more than just the consumerism part of capitalism. It's also a lot about people.
Right. Yes. So they align with your values and your ethos out there. Are you looking for other sponsors?
I'm always looking for additional sponsors because, as we spoke earlier, this type of thing, it does cost a lot of revenue to sustain it. In order to continue to inspiring people and to being the representation that a lot of people need to get into nature, it does come with a cost.
Mhm.
So I'm always looking to work with brands that understand the value that a person like myself can bring to their company. I like to work with companies that understand that we need to protect nature and that are promoting things like diversity and inclusion and looking outside of the box instead of just the traditional outdoor space the way it always was. Unfortunately, it's always hard for myself personally to attract sponsors, but I'm always in the market for it.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's interesting. As I get to know you, it's interesting, and reading, what you have accomplished. And so I was
Mhm.
curious to know. Obviously, COVID hit in 2020, so the evolution from 2020 to 2023 currently, sort of this brings us to, what does the future look like for you? When did you realize that this is more than just a journey of healing yourself individually? You found the family, you found the desire to work on inclusion and to work on mental health. So what do you think was that impetus? There's always a clicking point when we move from our individual ego into society?
You know, I think the most pivotal point for me was 2018. You know, in 2016 and 2017, the PCT was, like you said, more about me healing myself. I was giving a little bit extra to the people around me, but I was primarily my focus point. I needed to get into a better headspace. By 2018, I was hiking the Appalachian Trail and meeting a lot of people that was me 2 years earlier. This was their first trail. They're trying to find themselves. You know, they're a little nervous, they're a little afraid. And I was able to be that mentor for them, you know, that person that would encourage them and help them grow and to see them off. And then, like, you know, a parent raising a kid, you know, letting them go run wild and get into the trail and live their lives the way they wanted to. And at that point, I kind of realized that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my pivotal moment. It's not going to be a journey that is solely going to be about me. It's going to be a journey for me sharing all of the things I learned with other people. And that changed everything.
Right. And so do you do speaking? Do you teach any workshops? How do you take your lessons learned on trail and bring them back to the world?
You know, the primary method is doing things on social media. I will do speaks and talks with different brands, different companies, different nonprofit organizations, you know, just pretty much the opportunities people contact me. And if it sounds like that's something that can benefit people and that company or nonprofit is genuinely interested in helping the people they say they're helping, I'm all on.
I love that you can't just, you have to walk the talk. You have to, like, consumers do the research like yourself to see, is this authentic? Is it, that is
Oh,
branding,
yeah.
is it authentic?
I,
The employees, the
yeah.
messaging, marketing team, really. And so it's a deep conversation. And I'm really happy to see it evolving. This concept of the quadruple bottom line is not new. But it has had a resurgence due to, we have so many global crises, from Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter to COVID to really this isolation that we have these days is
Oh, yeah.
creating a lot of diseases of distress, as they call them. And so the amplification is pronounced. And so individuals,
Mhm.
when they buy and they purchase with their dollars, they're really looking to see, is there any, greenwashing here or inclusion washing here? And what is that? So it's a great conversation to have to see, how do you choose which brands that you like to work with, and how do you see, the future? So I'll start to wrap up with that, is if you can read the future, where do you see yourself in 20 years, 10 years, 20 years?
And in 20 years, I see myself still hiking and still, you know, advocating for whoever needs it, still supporting and spreading the good vibes. You know, I would love to be this person that can organize something to where people who are getting into this industry can come together without the outside influences of the brands and learn how this business works and learn how to do it the way you want to do it. And most of us that are coming into this business, we're more social conscious. We have things we believe in, we have things that we want to accomplish, but we oftentimes let that to the side because, you know, you just want to work with the brand, you need the revenue. But you have to learn that you can do both. You know, you can be selective about who you work with, that, you know, work with those people that believe a lot of the same things you can and still be financially successful. So I'd love to just start doing workshops teaching people how to do that. We don't have to compromise our goals or our morals in order to be successful.
I mean, that's a brave space to live in, to say, I'm going to
Mhm.
speak up when something is needed. I'm going to, do the research. And I know several colleagues in the DEI experience have been doing this for decades, trying to speak
Mhm.
up and it's only recently that they're finally seeing outdoor brands do, size inclusion, materials, or race events where they don't sweep so early for folks that aren't, fast on the podium. And so it is really wonderful to see that change. I think, in hiking, I have a girlfriend who I call the goat, because I have to like jog to keep up with her hiking pace. But on the downhill, I'm faster than she is. So, it averages out, but it seems like
Oh,
this
yeah.
beautiful thing on trail with the through hiking, that is, is it a race or not? I know there is, their time is important based on weather.
Mhm.
based on constraints of that. But in terms of, it seems like it's much more, as you say, you create your own journey and you learn the lessons for what you need and you work through it. It's amazing to slow the mind enough to be present.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And so, who would you like to collaborate in the future? If you think of yourself as a leader in this space, what are your sort of
You know,
dream
I would,
clients or dream partners?
as far as the business side of things go, I would love to collaborate with just pretty much any brand that actually understands there's a thin line between supporting a marginalized community and exploiting. As long as you understand what that line is, I'm willing to work with you. And guess what? If you don't understand what that line is, I'm willing to work with you and help you understand it.
Tell me what
So
that
I'm
line is. How do you define
You
that
know,
line?
I define it the same way we define allyship. I mean, allyship is a lifelong commitment to a group. When you say Black History Month come by and you want to post pictures or messages from Black people for that 28 days, and then from March to October, nothing.
Right.
You cross that line from, supporting to exploiting.
Okay.
And a lot of brands I see do this. Some, is it intentional? I couldn't say, or unintentional, but it happens so much. So I'd love to work with some of these brands to teach them, where that line is and how not to cross it.
Okay. Okay. So to create some, I don't think there's any such thing as perfection, but progress
Yeah,
and strategic plans around how to do that is a
definitely.
great place to begin. Okay, great. And so let's wrap it up. I always wrap it up with what I call rapid fire questions. So Will doesn't know these. They're off the fly, but this is wild card. Where was your last outdoor adventure?
Purgatory Creek here in Texas. Spent 6 hours hiking about 18 miles around just to get some training in for my upcoming trip.
Purgatory Creek, great. And do you have a favorite podcast or book that you would recommend to the outdoor industry around impact or just making a difference?
My favorite book is Thru-Hiking Will Break Your Heart by Carrie Quinn. I listen to this on every single hike I've ever been on. It teaches you about, being the best version of you can be and taking that time for self-care. And it's lessons that we all need to learn.
That was a question I had. Do you carry books with you?
I usually download them to my phone and they're audiobooks.
Okay, yeah, it's lighter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Great. And how about a top of mind nonprofit?
Top of mind nonprofit. Oh man, there's so many. I think I would go with Luke Nola in New Orleans. I love what they do. Then they're really local and behind the scenes, and they can always use support. So if you are just now learning about Luke Nola, go check out the website. Throw your support. The kids can always use it.
Yes, I will put everything in the show notes so that we make sure that our listeners
Appreciate it.
Yes. And Will, how can we find you? Where can we find you on the internet or email? What would you like to share?
You can find me on Instagram at Akuna Hikes or on my website, akunahikes.com. And hopefully here in the next week or two, it'll be more active since I'll be hiking the Appalachian Trail again. So I'll be posting updates at least weekly along the way. So come in and enjoy the ride and get some of these good vibes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So for our listeners, it is August 17th, 2023, and Will is about to hit the trail and is anticipating to be out for 4 months. This is your third time hiking it?
This will be my second time on the
Appalachian. Your second time, I was thinking that you had done it twice already. So second time. Okay, and you've been on the West Coast in recent years and you're going back east.
Yes, I am.
Well, enjoy nature out there for all of us, and I'm already tuned in, so I'll keep my eye on it. Thanks for joining me today, Will.
No problem. It's been a real treat. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for joining us for today's conversation of Beyond Revenue, Bringing Purpose to Brand. We hope to see you again in future episodes. And in the meantime, please be in touch with us on all the usual marketing channels. You can find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and of course on our website at gocallosum.com. We sure hope you got outside today.